are the attacks on members of the New Patriotic Party that are being reported, including their stalwarts there, as you can see on the screens, as we understand, is Howard Kumsin, a former member of parliament for the NPP. Quite a sad spectacle today it has been, but wherever you're joining us from, this is the time that we're going to unpack all of these matters, look at the changes that we need and how we need to reform going forward. But these pictures on your screens now are nothing to write home about. And of course, we as your election headquarters will stand to condemn any of these acts while we wait on the authorities to act now. But speaking about the election itself, the action is on. Polls have closed officially, and we'll be getting to the grounds shortly. Of course, my colleague as well is joining me, Isaac Kufieje, data analyst here at JoyNews, for us to equally do that magical analysis for you on the touch screen while we look forward to hearing from our reporters on the grounds to give us more of the action that is happening. Isaac, thank you for your time, and thank you for staying on and breaking down the figures to us. What I see now is the projection about the turnout. And you recall that Global Info Analytics was very key on that. The fact that although many of the residents had seen some economic improvements or improvements in their livelihoods, turnout for the elections may be low, similar to what the Electoral Commission had then projected at around 64%. But what are we likely to see as part of the fallouts for this election rerun?
Since morning, we've been doing some modeling, trying to see how the Ablekuma North constituency might actually go out to vote in terms of the turnout. And we have actually seen that this is one of the constituencies that have actually been affected by low turnout, moving from 80% somewhere in 2012 to now talking about 62% turnout in the 2020 election and 2024 election, around 62% as well. So if you look at the 19 constituencies, which has about more than 6,800 registered voters, the 19 polling stations, our expectation was that most of the polling stations were going to record, turnout below 60%, and some even being below 50%. And per the data we are getting, it shows that some polling stations, especially looking at them from the angles of the Odoko areas, are recording turnout below 50%. And even our projection, we said worst case scenario, if you look at the history of Ablekuma North, when they are not come out to vote, they usually will record a turnout of somewhere around 57%. So give or take, worst case scenario, you should have about 3,911 people coming out to vote. Best case scenario, 80%, 85%, talking about some 5,833. But on the average was around 4,666. But it looks like we could be below the worst case scenario,
that's
which
the fear
is
right
around 3,911.
But we need to hear from the grounds, know what exactly is happening, and to tell you what the picture is looking like, because up until tallying is done, we'll not be able to tell who the eventual winner is, because it's going to be a long night, trust me. It wasn't easy the first time when we tried it on the night of the December 7 elections, but we're hoping that this will be a smooth exercise, given the fact that there is election fatigue already. We're already tired about how come just a single constituency is holding an entire nation back. But the implication of this election is also far-reaching, because if the NDC grabs this seat, this will mean that for the very first time in our fourth democratic dispensation, we're having a political party with an absolute majority in parliament. And the NPP and some of its allies have been campaigning on the back of that, asking residents of Ablekuma North not to give that power and not to John Mahama, because allegedly they believe that this would lead to some significant changes in the constitution. These are all conspiracy theories going around. We'll dig into it and hear from the stakeholders as well as some experts for you here on your election headquarters. But polling has officially closed. Let me bring in James Aveji, our colleague who's been watching the exercise all throughout the day. James, it is over now. Where are you and what's happening where you are?
I'm currently situated at the Methodist polling station at Odoko, where all of the chaotic actions have been happening in the course of the day. as you just mentioned, the voting has ended and the sorting is currently happening between the Electoral Commission officers and the agents of the two political parties and their candidates. I really wish I could get you a closer shot of what is happening, but the happening here is that the police will not allow us closer to, in fact, into the premises of the church where the voting happened in the course of the day. The explanation we've got from the police, the commander in charge, is that because of the situation, the volatility of the situation, they do not want to allow anyone, even including the media, closer to the collation point. That may pave the way for other people to also want to get into the inner perimeter. That's the explanation we've gotten from the police. A reason why they have decided to let us stay out of the counting and the sorting and the entire collation process. We are only monitoring from behind the walls of the church. And as you can see in your shot, a number, I tried to do a head count. I've been able to count only about 80 of police officers who are lined up in the premises, the collation center of the Methodist Church. And this is not surprising because of what we have seen in the course of the day. Police officers, I see other people in other uniforms looking either like the fire service or the prison service. Also in there, I see a number of immigration officers also around. I want to believe that's a custom officer, about two of them also in the midst of the security officials, and the Ghana Ambulance Service officers also around. If you look at the police officers, three different kinds of dresses. There are some who are in the police uniform with a plain uniform. There are others who are with wearing their bulletproof jacket. Others also wearing a full violent uniforms, also holding shields and in helmets. And then there are a number of them about crowd control gears also here. There are a number of them positioned at strategic points in holding full long rifles, all in the midst of the security arrangement here, guarding the collation process at the Methodist Church Collation Center. And so the sorting is ongoing, as I can see. We cannot get any closer from beyond what we have here. And so the sorting is ongoing and the counting should begin. From the point we are, I doubt if we can hear the counting process, but we'll be relying on the Electoral Commission officers, especially the returning officer, to update us on what the outcome of the election has been. So that's the situation. Sorry, we cannot get enough for our viewers get closer, but the police say it is because of the security situation on ground. That is why they cannot get us closer to the place. So I can confirm the last person cast her ballot at about 5:01. She got to the voting area before 5 o'clock, and so she's been allowed to cast her ballots at about 5:01. Polling has closed here at the Methodist Church polling center, and we are waiting for the counting to begin. You see there the returning officer showing the empty ballot box there, which means they have emptied it and they are either doing sorting or have completed sorting and should begin with the counting any moment from now. Blessed.
James Avaji giving us the latest from Ablekuma North. Is just the start of a long night waiting that the process will finally conclude and we'll eventually know who the winner of the Ablekuma North rerun will be. Will it be Irabna Orbin or Ekuefrie, who's still in the race? Tonight we've got breaking news for you from the New Patriotic Party's camp on whether or not officially they were in the race, which is now winding up. We'll give you some updates shortly, which you need to know about. But I want to take you back to the constituency. We have our reporters dotted across various stations, 19 of them at stake now. But if you're taking a look at the numbers, you'd be interested in Pentecost Station 1, and then we have DVLA coming next on top in terms of the numbers. So let's try and get a sense of what's been happening ever since of course, we left that area. Let's bring in Jacqueline and Suma Yeboah, who is also monitoring developments for us. Jacqueline, what can you report? Where are you now? Jacqueline, I believe you can hear me. What's happening now and where are you?
All right, Blessed. So currently I'm at the Church of Pentecost Ablekuma North 2. They just finished counting the ballot, and MPP had 15 and NDC had 18 votes. But then let me run you through the number of expected voters here at the Church of Pentecost Ablekuma North 2. So the expected voters here were 67. Only 33 showed up to vote here. And so the results, as I said, MPP 15 and NDC 18. But there's another polling station around the other side. I'm yet to get the results from the other polling station. I heard that they are done. So I want to get closer to the other side to find out the results at that polling station, which is Church of Pentecost Ablekuma North 4. Blessed.
And you can see in the shots there, of course, the attempt by Jacqueline just to get through, the crowd who are waiting in earnest to see what the outcome will be. Counting underway in some of the polling centers, as you can see there on your screen. Probably we spend a few minutes to listen in to the counting, because that is the most defining moment of every election, when, of course, you wait with bated breath just to hear what the outcome will be. Jacqueline will be back giving us updates shortly on what the outcome of the counting will be. You can see the EC officials there clearly doing justice to the ballot papers. Earlier, there was that fear that given the violence that had erupted in some of the polling stations, you would expect that the exercise in terms of counting would have been disrupted. But fortunately, everything appears to be intact. That's what we're hoping for, because the last spectacle wasn't the best, right? Because in the same constituency that we're referring to, some ballot papers were banned. So everyone is just on the edge now, hoping that this exercise will be as smooth as it ought to be, in line with our democratic principles. So more and more people watching there, I believe, with some of the party agents also watching closely and monitoring the numbers. I want to believe that that's Dr. Da Costa. I'm not too sure if I'm seeing him well, but of course his party members will know him better. So that's the action happening for you live within the constituency. We are keeping our tabs on that, and we will be getting back into the constituency for you, giving you a sense of what is actually happening in that area. But let me break down the issues for you and also tell you about those helping us to do the conversation for tonight. We're being joined by the Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Mustafa Gbande. I was almost going to say Mustafa Gbande, Haruna Mohammed. His counterpart Mustafa is on the grounds, I believe, so you would want to say hello to him there. And of course, we have Dr. Asa Asante, political scientist at the University of Ghana, joining us as well. And then Musa Dankwa, Haruna's good friend, who is also joining us from Global Info Analytics. The counting is underway, and I must say that we are all waiting eagerly to see what the provisional results will give us a hint of. So, gentlemen, welcome to our studios, and thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the election headquarters. I want to start off with Haruna Mohammed because before coming on air, there was a clear indication from the party, just minutes upon coming onto this program, that indeed they ought to state their position once again on what this election is all about. Haruna, just before I get back to the grounds, I want you to tell us about that story and why the NPP is seeking to bring that out at this moment. Are you still in the race?
Thank you very much, Blessed. I would say good evening to your cherished viewers, my senior colleagues on this particular platform, Prof, and then Honorable Musa Dankwa. I think I will not add that name to be cited. Yes. Blessed, the party spoke, and we spoke at a press conference, the decision of the National Executive Committee. And for the purposes of clarity, the composition of the National Executive Committee is not a preserve of the General Secretary. Whatever is set by the National Executive Committee is not the decision of the General Secretary. The General Secretary is at duty to publicize and to communicate the decisions of the National Executive Committee, even if he disagrees with the position of the National Executive Committee. The composition, if you permit me, I indicate we have the National Chairman, past presidents. In this case, we have former President Kufuor, former President Akufo-Addo, past Vice President, we have one, which is His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia. President, if you are in power, the Vice President, if you are in power, former presidential candidate, which is also one, which is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, former presidential running mate, past presidential candidate, that is if the former ones, we have the first Vice National Chairman, the second Vice National Chairman, the third Vice National Chairman, we have the General Secretary, we have...
In a nutshell...
No, I just want
in
people...
a nutshell, what message are you sending across now?
I want the composition...
process
I want the composition, people to know the composition of the National Executive Committee.
Right.
But I want you to know that the position of the National Executive Committee that was taken on Monday and delivered on Tuesday at a press conference by the General Secretary on behalf of the National Executive Committee has not changed.
Which means that the NPP is saying as of now, as of this moment when the election is over, that you never participated in the exercise.
The position of the National Executive Committee is still on, and the NPP has not changed that. We are in court. We believe, and I believe, as I sit here, the elections that has been organized today is not on point of law. The elections that has been organized today is an election that is organized on top of an election that was successfully done and left to be declared.
Okay.
And I believe that our candidate, Nana Akua-Afriyie, won that election, and we don't need to contest an election we have won.
So an update on the decision by Akua-Afriyie to run this election for you. You're hearing it once more, just coming in from the Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, that officially the NPP's position still stands. They are not in this race, as he is telling us, except to say that the candidate says she will proceed with the exercise. In fact, provisional results trickling in, quite a tight one already between Irabna Orbin and Akua-Afriyie, with, of course, the Pentecost Odoko North provisional results out already. Let's get to the grounds and have a sense of what's happening now from more of our reporters joining us at the moment. Stephen Mensah is also on the grounds. Stephen, what can you report? Because already some of the polling stations are just coming up with some of the provisional results. Stephen Mensah, I believe that you can hear me. Give us a sense of what's happening now, where you are, and perhaps if you have some of the provisional results, you could share them with us. Nana Yao-Bochi Adam is also there for us. Nana, bring us up to speed with where you are, what's happening right now.
I am at the Roman Catholic polling station, where the EC officials just finished counting the votes, and you can see some supporters in a jubilant mood. And the provisional results that we have so far, we have the NPP's candidates polling 81 votes, and then the NDC's Irabna coming up with 154 votes. So these are the provisional results that we have from the Roman Catholic polling station, Odoko 1. And that is what has led to the jubilation that you see among the NDC supporters over here. At this point, security has been beefed up. We're waiting for the EC officials and the polling agents to commit themselves to the pink sheet, and then we can bring you the clear results from that.
Looking at this area you're talking about, what's the voter population? And if you could just go over the provisional results for us again.
So the provisional results, we have Nana Ekuye pulling 81 votes, and then Erabna Obin also pulling 154 votes. So 81 for the MPP candidate and 154 for the NDC's candidate. We should be having 538 registered voters participating in the election, but then the low voter turnout swept through this police station as well.
No doubt that was projected. It appears it is happening indeed on the ground. That voter turnout is beginning to indicate that, yes, practically it is low. I'm wondering what is motivating that. We'll get to hear from the experts on that shortly. But thank you, Nana Wachiadom, giving us the very latest from the Ablekuma North constituency. We're still keeping our eyes there, as you can see in your shots. Lots of activities going on, including the counting, and mainly waiting on to see what the outcome will be. Early lead, if you may want to call it, in terms of that latest provisional results we are receiving from the Roman Catholic Church for Erabna Obin. But let's find out if Stephen Mensah has more for us. Stephen, if you can hear me, where are you now? What's the latest?
Well, Blessed, I'm here at the Lord's Pentecostal Church polling station here in Kwashibu. We reported earlier that there was a low voter turnout. We got information from the EC official that as at 3:55 p.m., only 243 voters had turned up to vote. Currently, we have a lot of the constituents watching in earnest as the voting is underway. So far, we know that only Nana Ekuye has turned up here at the Lord's Pentecostal Church polling station to visit and to check to see how the voting process is done so far. We also understand that as at 3:55, only 243 out of the 563 voters had turned up, indicating a low voter turnout. Voting is currently underway.
Which means that that process is yet to conclude at this polling station that we're talking about. Any special reasons for that? Because we know that 5 p.m. at least, or the action should be over there.
Well, there were few voters who turned up quite late. That's why the counting process is currently underway.
Right. Stephen Mensah giving us the latest from the Lord's Pentecostal Church. If you're checking the records and the album for this constituency, that is an area you don't want to mess with because it has a significant number. If you're looking at the ratings, it's part of the top 3 in terms of the areas with the highest number of voters. Stephen Mensah giving us a sense that, of course, that exercise is yet to conclude at that very polling station. It will bring you the very latest on that, because I believe the rule is that if you're already in the queue, then of course the election officials would have to allow you finish the exercise in terms of casting your ballot. I believe that's why we're experiencing what we're experiencing there. Beyond that, we'll be moving to some more areas, bringing you the latest on what's likely to come. But I just want to pick that off from Musa Dankwa, who's with us, because that projection was made. You indeed indicated that voter turnout was going to be low. Some people were really doubtful about whether or not that would happen.
No, see, when you understand numbers and the dynamics of turnout, then you can safely project lower turnout. Usually, any elections other than general election records lower turnout. But this particular one, the stakes were so low for both parties, just for pride. For NDC, theoretically, maybe an additional number to give them 2/3, but already they are having that 2/3 through their proxies. And MPP, when it would not really change nothing much.
Yeah.
So the motivation for MPP in particular to go out there and vote would be very difficult. And then that is their stronghold. So if they had come out in their numbers, you'd have seen a higher number. But also in such elections, and I said that in the early mornings of the voting, those who want to change something are the ones who queue and come early. So I was expecting that maybe if we have higher turnout in the morning and MPP were coming, probably we would have seen a bit of close right. But from what we are seeing now, already you can see what is coming from the initial provisional numbers. It looks like it is NDC that went to vote.
And not NPP members?
No, they did, but it will be much,
Traditionally, if you're looking at the figures, Dr. Asante, this is an area that is categorically for the New Patriotic Party. Should we be hard on Equia knowing what's happening now? This is a rerun, which the party says they do not side with. As far as they are concerned, they had won that election.
I have a different view. Yesterday, I said on your network that what is going on relative to whether the position of the party saying that they are not contesting, and yet you see the candidate running on the ticket of the party is nothing but strategic. Because yes, MPP want to tell you that they believe in the rule of law, they are in court, they don't want to do anything that would affect the court process. But, I know from where I said that conversation will go on, that you can carry on. Because I can't see any human being within the party who will be able to muster courage and say that defy the position or decision of NEC. They cannot. We are here and our friend, the Deputy General Secretary, was telling us membership of NEC. Who born dog?
I'm surprised to learn that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia would have been on that list. Interestingly, he's giving a sum of 410,000 Ghana cedis to the candidate.
It's just, it's a family thing. So whether we are in difficulty or there's a problem, I can still donate something to you. But the party is saying that they are not there. But I know they are there behind the scenes. Because where did the woman get the courage to stand on the ticket of the party? That is most interesting. And then NEC, giving the body and the composition of NEC, who are you to defy the decision of NEC? No. And, so that is it. But because there are a lot of things that are also playing out that we are seeing what we are seeing. For a very long time, if you put your ears and eyes on the ground, you see that it's one of the areas that has been neglected for some time in terms of infrastructure development. And these are things that also move people into voting for political parties. So when, after 8 years, they did not see much, obviously they will react this way.
Okay, let's hear from Haruna. The point about Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia being a member of NEC, yet he's giving official donations to this candidate. You say that you're still not in the race. How do we reconcile the two? Do you intend to sanction all of these presidential aspirants? And we must be clear that the former vice president is not the only one who's done this. Kennedy Ejapon, I believe, has been there to see the candidate. Brian Echampon is even giving $6,500 to coordinators, I believe. That's what the reportage is saying. Do you intend to sanction all of these people who are supporting the candidate?
Blessed, first and foremost, all that you have mentioned, I believe that they are unofficial records. I cannot validate their contribution.
Really?
Except to say that I read them from the social media. Secondly, when it comes to sanctions, I, as a person, don't sanction. I speak to decisions of sanction. So much as such sanctions have not been issued, I am unable to speak to whether they will be sanctioned or not, because I only participate in decisions of sanction and speaks to decisions of sanction.
Haruna, is your party not doing convenience politicking? You paint a different picture to the nation that we are not in this race. Then you have some of your assigned support the candidates on grounds.
You see, the party have a mouthpiece. The party speaks on official positions. The party did not vary their official position through the same mouthpiece. NEC did not set again, and no other decision was taken. So you cannot approbate that decision or defiance to the party. Perhaps you can do so with such individuals, for which I may not be able to appreciate the angle on which they're coming from. But the position of the party is maintained on principle, and we believe at any day that we won Ablekuma North, and that seat will certainly come back to us.
How is it coming back?
Because we'll win that matter in court, because we are going to fight it.
So what's the legal status of your candidate now? You haven't written to the Electoral Commission to revoke your sponsorship for this candidate, but the Political Parties Act and looking at what the EC's Act is, as far as it stands now, she's being sponsored by the New Patriotic Party on the ballot.
Let me tell you why we have not written to the Electoral Commission. This is an election that is not completed. The election did not begin yesterday. Did not begin when the Electoral Commission announced a rerun. The election did not begin when there was a decision to throw out the injunction application. The election began in 2024 through a due process of the Electoral Commission, opening a nomination. We are fighting the election that we have won, and we have indicated the grounds on which we have won. We have also indicated that the Electoral Commission is not position of law to call for a rerun, and we cited the example that was used in Akwatia election, a 6 polling station. The decision was High Court, it was a Supreme Court decision, not the decision of the Electoral Commission. So you cannot pull out of an election where you are in court fighting the completion of that election. You will die on the dagger, because if you pull out and you are in court and they are to pronounce judgment, it is evident that you pulled out of the election. We said we are not participating in this particular round of not the election.
Last night, collation was done for some 18 polling stations. You're aware?
I'm not aware. Collations were done after there was court ruling and directive to the Electoral Commission on the 4th of January. The Electoral Commission carried out the instructions of the court in part on the 5th of January. 17 of the polling stations were collated. On the 6th of January, 13 of the polling stations were collated. And on the 8th of January, 4 of the polling stations were collated.
And what happened
out
last
of
night?
the 37, 34 were collated. 3 was left. The Electoral Commission reported to us as a political party. They went before the legislature. They went before the court, before Parliament, and reported under oath that they are left with 3. And there is nothing stopping them except security to finish collation and declare. So we are not aware, we were not invited. There is no letter inviting the MPP to a collation of any sort in any election.
What I want us
so
to
I
do
cannot
now,
recognize that particular.
What I want us to do now is to just listen in, because looks like some more provisional results are trickling in. Jacqueline and Sumayebo is there for us. Let's listen in.
All right, blessed. So, MPP candidate number 1, Nana Epia Owusu Efriye, had 77. NDC candidate number 2, Erabna Oben, had 130. Valid votes 207. Rejected 0. Total for Methodist Church, Odoko 1 is 207. The time we gave the statement of pull out was 5:34 p.m. NPP agent Michael Sampson has signed and has accepted the result. NDC agent Margaret J. Ayi has also signed and accepted. I am the presiding officer. My name is Nana Majemfa Blanche. God bless you all. Hey!
Thank you. Electoral Commission.
Looks like there's an early lead again for the NDC in that very polling station that we've just heard the results from. Jacqueline Ansemayewa is there. Jacqueline, faint voice there, so we could not hear the exact figures, but looking at the gesture from the agent of the NDC rep, you can tell that they're happy they've won. But tell us about the figures and what you have there.
Okay, Blessed. So let me go over the figures again. So just as I was saying, the Church of Pentecost at Odorko, number 2 and 4. I already gave you the number 2. So for the number 4, in all, they were expecting 137 voters. But at the end of the day, MPP had 21 and NDC had 38. That's the results for the Church of Pentecost. That is Church of Pentecost number 4. And I've already given you the Church of Pentecost number 2, the results, which is MPP having 15 and NDC having 18. But earlier I was trying to say that they've already sent away the ballot boxes with heavy security. If you recall, right here in Ablekuma North constituency, during the time of collation, we had news that at Kaneshi cluster of, Kwashiman cluster of schools, there was a fire incident there. That was the school that was housing the ballot materials, but I'm not sure it's being sent there now. We saw them sending the election materials away in a very tight security nature. But then we are moving to other polling stations in the same vicinity to get the result from these stations.
Jacqueline Ansemayewa there giving us the very latest. Pentecost Church number 4. Early lead again for the NDC. The NPP says they are not in the race, by the way, so whatever the outcome, don't be too worried about that. That's according to Haruna Mohammed. You're not in the race, so you don't really bother about the outcome.
Oh, for me, I don't know there is election running today.
Were you there, by the way?
Why will I be there? I'm a beneficiary of NEC and council. I cannot defy NEC decision because NEC proposes my appointment to council. I'll be the last person to defy the decision of NEC.
What will happen to your general secretary? This is by far, I mean, I don't know if to describe it, the most abysmal performance for AD general secretary within the New Patriotic Party. Your seats are further waning. The hope of making it at least 89 is not the case any longer for you.
I don't think that you can use this to judge the performance of the general secretary. Because the general secretary has stated the position of the party, and the position of the party communicated by him was taken by NEC, and that was why I was taking the time to give you the composition. I can tell you that many of the people you saw at Ablekuma North sat to take the decision, including the honorable minority leader. He was there. A lot of people. I wanted to give you the composition. And for the benefit of record, the former presidents were not there. Former President Kufuor could not attend. Former President Akufo-Addo could not also attend. But if I had given you the complete record of those who are members of NEC, you would appreciate that the decision that was taken was a thought-through decision, and lawyer Justin Kodua Frimpong communicated that. For you to use this election, which we don't recognize, because in his words, and the decision of NEC, we don't consider that we contest an election that we have won, and we don't consider it as an election.
Dr. Asante, do you see the leadership of the NPP now having control over the party? Because this is the General Secretary, Chief Scribe of the NPP saying, we're not in the race, and then you would have party members doing otherwise.
Sorry, before he responds, don't say the General Secretary say. NEC says.
No, but the declaration was done by the General Secretary of the party. At least
it means that
it
is a decision of General Secretary. It's a decision of NEC. This is where a General Secretary communicates the decision of NEC. I believe that premise it on that way. I don't want to dictate your editorial policy, but I want the sentence.
You invited the media to this event. The General Secretary of the party was the one who made the announcement.
Communicated the decision of NEC.
I see.
Let it be.
Dr. Asante, NEC or General Secretary for you?
I want to go by the structures of the party. So I'll take it from NEC.
Right.
But obviously, NEC has a spokesman, the person of the General Secretary. So
correct.
He speaks the language of NEC. He couldn't have done otherwise.
Do you see any lack of control now over the party?
NPP for this election appears to be in disarray. One, they boycotted the election, yet they are there. I cannot wrap my hand on the issue where NEC has taken a decision and an ordinary member of the party can say, I am disobeying the orders of NEC and I'm going ahead. More so, I am representing the party. Can you imagine? So it's a difficulty. Then it tells you that all is not well. Divisions, internal party interests and all that are playing out now. Right. But I believe that this is a time that the party must put its house in order if they really want to organize themselves for the battle ahead 2028. I can't use this thing to get the whole party, but at least it gives you an inkling as to what is really simmering within the party.
Let's wait and see what that outcome will be. Stephen Mensah is back on with us. Stephen, where are you? What can you report?
I'm still here at the Lost Pentecostal polling station. It's one out of 4 polling stations in this electoral area which was embattled. Currently, the counting is done. The provisional results we are receiving is that the NPP has 106 votes. The NDC has 147. The total number is 253 out of the expected 563 votes, signifying a low voter turnout. Currently, we can see about 30 of the police officers here, with about 8 of them in protective gear. About 1 hour 30 minutes prior to the close of polls, they started gearing up. We can also see a police vehicle on standby in the case of any violent incident. However, there has not been any violence recorded here at the Lost Pentecostal polling station.
A lot of churches actually there within the Ablekuma North constituency. Interesting details there, but thank you, Stephen Mensah, giving us the latest from the Lost Pentecostal church polling station, arguably one of the highest as well, but still the case of low voter turnout. But Irabna Obin there also leading slightly, 147 plus, I understand. But of course, if you're looking at the results now, it still paints that picture, Musa, about how in spite of the NPP's decision not to partake in these elections or the rerun, she's still polling quite some significant results.
I think she's put up a good fight. And if I truly believe that if the party hadn't officially taken that stance, she could have done better. We're yet to see the final outcome, but the trajectory of the results so far, I've not seen NPP take a single polling station yet, from what we are seeing so far. And that's not a good omen. It's very unfortunate. I mean, we have to get to this point. I believe that if it had been well contested, we would have seen the genuine reflection of what people want. Nevertheless, we are seeing some decisions being taken by the voters, and it is what it is.
What about the NDC candidate? No comment so far from her, but do you feel it's just because there's a wave of support and that's why perhaps people are simply going in for her?
All the dynamics points to people making a reasonable choice of voting for her because her party is in power. That is very, very important. Then secondly, the overall sentiment and feeling of the voters in the constituency cannot be discounted. The polling numbers suggest that it doesn't look rosy for an opposition party to wage an offensive against the party that is perceived to be popular around this time. So all those things are accounting for the numbers she is getting.
Dr. Santi, this area, as I was indicating earlier, is a known NPP area, and the decision alone by NEC, as we were, just having a take or a bite on, could have impacted what we're seeing now, right? Because it's about the psychology going into the polls. The voter then has to make a decision, and now you have a party that has ever since dominated this area saying, we're not in support of our candidate, we're not going for a rerun. Is that why we're seeing what we're seeing today?
Exactly so. Exactly, is a huge factor. You can't discount that because opinions are divided there as to is the party being represented at the polls or not. Yeah, so there are the officials are saying we are not there. So who is there actually? Obviously, this will agitate the minds of ordinary voter, and that will not inure to the benefit of the party, and that is why we are seeing what we are seeing. But that is not the only factor. But if you look at the constituency, it has been abandoned for a very long time by the party, and the party is paying dearly for that. A constituency can be a stronghold of your constituency, but if you go by what Dan's theory, that people vote based on the benefit that they get from it, everybody as a rational voter will vote because of certain benefit. And if they don't get it, I'm afraid it doesn't really matter. They will change the game.
There are far-reaching implications in this election, as simplistic as it may look, because if Irabna Orbin gets to be declared winner after this exercise, that would mean that for the very first time in this constituency, we're going to have the NDC's first parliamentary member of parliament for the area. We'll get to that story shortly. I just want to return to the grounds now and bring in James Aveji, who's also having some new figures coming through. James, where are you now? What can you report?
I'm currently still at the Odoko, the Methodist Church Odoko 1 polling station, where I reported from with all of the chaos. And the counting process and the counting has just ended here, and provisional results have been given out. The NPP's Nana Ike had 77 votes, and the NDC's Irabna Orbin had 130 votes. There has not been any spot or rejected ballot, and so the total valid votes go to some 200 and about 200 votes that the two parties have gathered so far in this election, which has been marked with blows and fighting, all of that. And so 207 actually has been the total vote cast. Irabna Orbin had 130, and Ekekwe of the NPP had 77 votes. And I must say, these are the provisional results from this particular polling station, Methodist Church Odoko 1, where all of the chaos have been happening. We'll be leaving here to the other polling stations to see what the situation has been so far.
And James, speaking about this very polling station, many would not have expected that the exercise in terms of coalition would have been that smooth, looking at what was witnessed earlier today. How come there is calm there and everyone appears to be taking the results in good faith?
Exactly, Blessed. In fact, at about 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon, the process was halted for over 30 minutes. And all of us did not expect to come back to continue the process because of the fight that ensued between the NDC and the NPP supporters. A number of party supporters came in here riding on motorbikes, some in helmets, and were fighting amongst each other right at the entrance of the voting center. The board of contention has been the NDC supporters demanding that Honorable Howard Kumsen, who was here as part of the monitoring process, should be escorted out of the place. The NPP supporters also objected that, which led to the fight between the two sides. The police have not effected any arrest. It took the party leaders, both leaders on the side of the NDC and the NPP, to actually negotiate with them before they left the scene. Then we had the coming in of the IGP himself, COP Tata Yohudu, who came to the scene after that had ensued. We had both the Interior and the Defense Ministers, Honorable Muntaka Mohammed, as well as Dr. Amani Buama, all coming to the place, as well as other leading party officials from both sides. The NPP candidate, Nana Ikpe was here herself. The NDC candidate, Irabna Obin, was also here. Ikpe was here in a company of Miracles Abuaji, a champion who is also a contestant. We've heard also Samia Uku was also here, as well as other party members. And just minutes after the Defense and Interior Ministers and the IGP left, calm was restored. About 2 buses of police officers were brought in, all dressed in their riot control.
James Savaji there giving us the latest from Methodist Church Odoko, where the violence actually erupted earlier in the course of the process, but calm has returned. Of course, the verdict is out now. The NDC has also swept that side, giving still an early lead to Rabna Obin. I want us to cross over to Jacqueline and Sumaya Boa, who is also monitoring the exercise. Jacqueline, where are you now?
All right, sure. So, Blessed, I just came back from the Presby Church Odoko 4, where the results that we have, MPP had 31 and NTC had 37 votes at Presby Church Odoko 4.
Well, close shaving there, but how come the numbers are still low? Very low.
Yeah, listen, so earlier, my conversation with the EC officials and even party faithfuls and party agents has been that today is not a holiday, today is a working day. And also, most people earlier, that was yesterday, when we were in the constituency, a few of them were not aware that there was going to be a rerun in the constituency, because they knew that it was still in contention, but they didn't know there was going to be a rerun. And especially when it comes to let me say MPP, most people heard the news quite late. So most people failed to turn out.
Jacqueline and Sumaya Boa, there for us, message quite clear indeed that low voter turnout. And this is what I'll say, Dr. Asante. I've been to the Domiko Abenya constituency, of course, covering the 2024 elections. And if you have in your stronghold a low voter turnout, then it will definitely be the loss of the party that has the base there.
Obviously, you are out because the people who are supposed to give you the votes are not interested. Then what do you expect at the end of the day? And that is what is playing out. It's unfortunate, but this should be a learning curve for the political party. That when you win power, whether you win or lose, you should make it a point that at all times you build your base, you support your party, and then when you even win power, you have more responsibility on your shoulders.
This is about the third time you're making this point.
Yes.
Do you have information that we're not aware of?
Oh, but we know the constituency. I drive around, I go there, and I see. And why would they, vote this way? It's simply because something has gone, wrong. And people just don't vote for fun. The benefit that they derive from that exercise is what they have on. So if at the end of the day, they don't get it, voters are rational and they will decide what otherwise.
I was going to talk about the implication of this election and how dire that could be. I watched some videos online last night, and I must say that, well, the NPP hasn't said these are our members, because we haven't heard from the NPP as to whether or not these are the members of the NPP. But the campaign messaging was that, well, if you give the votes to Irabna Obin, this will give the NDC absolute majority in parliament. And then they turn their fires on the president, saying the president could do whatever he wants to do with the numbers.
Yeah, a good message, but it came in very late.
Is it realistic, by the way?
Oh, yeah, yes. I mean, if you look at it, aside the independent who have, shown their support for the NPP, sorry, the NDC,
yes.
to the extent that if we should vote today and all things being equal, they should take the position that they are taking now. They will vote in support of the NDC. So for that matter, if they want to test majority, they will get. But this is not the case for the NDC. For them, they want to really have their own members who constitute the 2/3. Yes. So they are not taking this election lightly. People are saying that, why do you have 183 and you're still looking for this? No. They want to have their own 2/3 majority, which is 184. Once they get that, because if somebody is an independent person, the person can change his mind at any time. But now I have my members and all that. So for them, it's very, very critical. And they are moving heaven and earth to get the seat. And if you see the results as they trickle in, you realize that they are in good position to, cause a stir in that area. But even though we are waiting and then waiting for the outcome, but they are showing good signs.
Indeed, good omen for not just the NDC, but the entire constituency. In the last 3 elections, women have held the front for that constituency. So I guess that's a good sign for them, including Equifre, who's had her turn in Parliament at some point. But Musa, I want to pick up your thoughts on the issue of neglect. I don't know if those figures were yours, but we saw the infographics about what people were saying about their livelihoods in the last 6 months alone, leading into this polls. What did you find there?
From our side, we were very clear that MPP was going to lose this election by what we knew from the polls we did in that constituency about 3 weeks ago. All the matrix was pointing to eventual NDC win. Now, in terms of the approval of the president, he was hitting 87% roughly, higher than the national average in Ablekuma North. Now, let me just go back to what you said about the message.
Yes.
You see, you don't know by data whether people support Mahama going third term or not. You don't have that data. So for you to think that people will be against it and then use that as a campaign message could backfire if the people really want that to happen.
But you've seen the video I'm talking about.
I was shocked. See, the angle they should have gone was to say that, look, we want to keep them in check. We want to be the guardian of democracy. Like, let us have this seat so that we can prevent them from doing things. Don't nail it to third term.
It was not strategic.
It wasn't strategic. It wasn't. And I think they misread, and probably they didn't know even the sentiment of the people at the time the polls were being held. They may have an idea about national sentiment, but they didn't have a grip of what is happening in the Ablekuma North. And also in terms of who they send there. In fact, because they pulled out, they couldn't organize it in a very structured way. So they were just running helter-skelter there with Kennedy, Japan, this and that. But you could have sensed who is our best asset to deploy in that place to whip sentiments. And also, I think there was no communication. Probably NCC didn't do much. They could have been maybe a vehicle going around saying there will be elections, educating people that will be elections. That didn't happen. And that's why you see, when the parties are involved with their machinery, you get to know that things are happening. When that machine is not there, then you have this kind of, I didn't know. Believe me, if they were officially very, very, very involved in it, would have seen a different kind of turnout. On the both MPP and NDC side, both sides would have come to say that we want to be heard.
Well, things are shaping up. What you have on the screens now, obviously, is the Coalition Center. We'll be getting to break down some more numbers for you. But let me take Harun's thoughts on what Musa has just said, the part about neglect and how come you're, for the very first time, about to lose a seat that traditionally was for the NPP. Dominic Kwabinya is gone. Some of your other safe seats are gone. Here's the latest to add to it.
I cannot confirm neglect because...
But you can't deny it as well.
The data that is supposed to inform my analysis is not available to me. I need to have a pre-data, that is the baseline data, to be able to match it against the current data. So I don't know Ablekuma North very well. If you had asked me of any constituency in the North, specifically Northern region, I'll be able to tell you where it was. And
You
where
guys
it
don't
is.
seem to trust anything from Musa Dankwa, do you?
I did not say. You see, he's a researcher. I'm not distrusting what he's saying. I'm saying that what is available to him is not available to me. The ingredients that he's using to evaluate that is not available to me. I have not initiated a process to make that evaluation. So I don't have the baseline data. Neither do I have the present data. That will inform a neglect. So as a result of that, I am very restrictive to draw a conclusion on that. What I would have to say is that I want to add one other information. When we were taking the decision, Ekuya Free was part of the decision takers. She was invited to NEC. She came in the company of 2 other persons. She participated. We all agreed. We did a press conference in her presence. The rest is history.
You feel betrayed as the leaders of the party?
I think the party leadership will look at this conclusively. And the legal representation also look at her presence and participation in the election, because it's open. It cannot be hidden that she did not participate. And the writs that were filed in court was not filed in the name of the MPP. It was filed in her name.
Right.
So if there is a stab, then certainly she has stabbed herself in the back.
Okay.
We pray that she wins.
Well, we are your election headquarters and will definitely get you all of the action if indeed it turns out that Ekuya Free will be declared tonight as the eventual winner. But looking at the signs on the wall, you can tell where all of this is heading. But let's get into the figures for you. Coalition still underway. The pictures on your screens right now coming through from the Coalition Center, which will eventually tabulate all of the votes, outstanding ones, and then give us a sense of finally who would be holding onto that seat of Ablekuma North. And Isaac Ofieje, data analyst here at JoyNews, is with us. Isaac, outstanding constituencies 19. And of course, you just had the NPP dispute all of this and talk about the fact that, well, we're not in the race because we're in court. We still believe that just 3 polling stations were outstanding. But let's deal with the 19 because this is what the Electoral Commission is doing now. I want us to first of all get a sense of what's happening at the Coalition Center. We'll dig into the figures shortly for you. Kenneth JC is there for us, giving us all of the action at the Coalition Center. I see that the election officials are readying themselves to tabulate. Ken, take it away. What can you tell us?
The Regional Collation Center, we have the reps of both the NDC and the MPP all seated here. You see that the results are coming in bit by bit. They are readying it for it to be officially opened so that they can start counting and possibly declare who has won the Ablekuma North constituency. Now, outside this building, though, there's heavy police presence. Security is very tight here. They say they are leaving nothing to chance because of the high stakes in this particular election. You know, we've witnessed a few skirmishes here and there, but it's relatively safe here at the Regional Collation Center where the declaration is expected to be done. And the EC officials are here. We have party agents here. Reps, the executives from the National Democratic Congress. I see Rashid Tanko, computer, and other executives also here. And of course, we are being protected by the men and women in uniform as well. So essentially what's happening here is that we're just waiting for
and this is what I'm interested. This is what I'm interested in, Ken. The presence or otherwise of any rep from the New Patriotic Party, because officially they're telling us they're not in this race.
Yes. So I spoke to the reps from the New Patriotic Party. I asked them, you said you're not in the race, so why are you here? On whose tickets are you here? They say they are here because of the New Patriotic Party. And of course, they wanted an ex parte on this particular election. It didn't happen. So they would have no option than to support the candidate and Ekuya Free. So they are here regardless of what their General Secretary said on Tuesday that they had officially boycotted it. They still have reps here and they say they are supporting the Ekuya Free regardless of what happens.
Interesting. This is what I would say. Tell us about the security arrangement now. What has changed, and how assured are we that at the end of the exercise we'll not go down the same path?
Well, a lot has changed. I mean, this has been a collation center for a longer time. The Ablekuma results, they've attempted and failed to collate the results here on a number of occasions since the beginning of this year. But if you come here today, you see security forces, not only policemen and women, but you see from the fire service, you see from the customs division, a lot of them, they are prepping themselves. They've barricaded the entire premise. Even we as accredited journalists, we are scrutinized. Even with your accreditation, you are scrutinized. The barricade is not moved. You are made to squeeze yourself before you can enter the premise. So security is really, really, really tight here. We are hoping that the skirmishes that we witnessed during the day when the elections were happening in the 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency do not repeat themselves, because the security is really, really heavy here.
Yeah, per the CI, clearly the commissioners are not returning officers in this exercise. But any sight of Jean Mensah, the chairperson, or Dr. Bosman Asare, who then made the confirmation a couple of days ago that this will be a rerun?
Well, none of them has been spotted so far. Neither Jean nor Dr. Bosman has been spotted there. We do not know whether they will be coming here or not, but we've not spotted any of them thus far as we speak. And those are more ballot boxes that are being, brought into the auditorium there. You can see in your shot, a lot of them are just coming in, and they will be unboxed, and then counting will start. So we've not seen Jean Mensah, the EC chair, or any of the deputies as we speak now. But we're seeing a lot of boxes here, and counting is expected to begin any moment from now.
Okay, that's the action we're waiting for. Ken, give me updates on what the Vice President's concern also is, because earlier in the day he's been speaking about, and I mean the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bamia, he's been speaking about pockets of violence and the fact that prosecution ought to follow.
So, Your Excellency, what do you make of the violence at Ablekuma North now?
Thank you very much. The reports of what has gone on at Ablekuma North this morning are very disturbing. This is not the democracy that we want to see in Ghana. Our supporters are being attacked by thugs in the